Hi, this is Chris at Perfect Mondays, and today I'm going to be sharing with you 5 really powerful lessons from a $10 billion fiasco. This is a good one, so stick around. Hi, this is Chris at Perfect Mondays, the place for women entrepreneurs who want to scale their business without drama and without overwhelm. And if you're a woman entrepreneur and you want to grow your business by working smarter instead of harder, if you want to stop feeling like you're running inside a hamster wheel, like you're stuck in Groundhog Day in second gear, this is the place for you. And today I'm going to be sharing with you 5 really powerful lessons from the downfall of Theranos, a company that at its time was regarded as one of the most incredible, innovative, and disruptive companies. And before we get started, I want to remind you to subscribe to my channel so you can get access to all these videos as soon as they come out. So what is Theranos and why is it such a big deal and what's going on with this $10 billion fiasco? Well, Theranos was a company founded by Elizabeth Holmes, a 19-year-old woman who had a vision to help humanity. Instead of getting tons of pints of blood to do your analysis and paying sometimes thousands of dollars, it would be a simple prick to your finger that would take care of all that stuff for a fraction of the cost. If you haven't watched HBO's documentary, The Inventor, I highly recommend it. It's an amazing story. It's as incredible as any movie you can watch because it's got so much drama, but it's real life. And I want to start by sharing that 2 of the lessons that I'm going to share with you are not negative lessons. There's 5 lessons that I'm going to share with you today. And 2 of them are lessons that I believe a lot of entrepreneurs could actually adopt and would actually benefit their businesses. So let's start with number 1. Lesson number 1 has to do with the power of story. Now, the reason why this is such a huge deal and why it captured the attention of people around the world was because, in my mind, Theranos has 3 really powerful stories that made it stand out about so many different startups. The first story has to do with its founder, Elizabeth Holmes. This is a woman who at 19 years old drops out of college, like many of the incredible inventors in the world, and starts to create a company. So here's a woman who's 19 years old, she's working in tech, she's working in science, and that in and of itself captures the attention of so many people around the world because it's a really powerful, David and Goliath type of lessons. Here's a woman who wants to disrupt this huge business, which is healthcare, right? And she's so young and she's so smart and she's really persuasive. So that is the first story that I think she was able to create. The second story was in the way that she described her purpose for doing her business. Elizabeth told the story over and over again of how she had, I think it was an uncle who died, and how this affected her. Someone who could have prevented the cancer that he had if it was detected on time, and how this had an impact in her ability to think of how she wanted to solve this pain in the world. And the third story was, of course, in the vision itself of the business. Here's someone who wants to disrupt an industry. Anytime that you have something that's disruptive, it's going to catch people's attention. And in this case, if there's a process that has been done for decades, that is expensive, that is cumbersome, that has not been evolved in the way that other technologies has evolved, then it's a really powerful story. And in this case, here's someone who wants to take a prick in your finger with drawing a little tiny bit of blood instead of drawing pints and pints of blood and charging you a fraction of the cost instead of paying thousands of dollars. So that in and of itself created a really powerful story to disrupt the entire industry. So my question to you is, as a powerful lesson in your business, what is your story? How incredible, how amazing your story. So let's say that 0 means your story is non-existent and 10 means it's a super powerful and compelling story. How powerful is the story for your business? This is something that I believe a lot of entrepreneurs can actually learn from. Is your story, your personal story, your business story, your vision, just like anyone else's, or does it have something that helps you stand out? I've seen so many entrepreneurs who have a really good idea and have no story, and it's really difficult for people to understand that. So when you have an emotional connection with your audience, it's a lot easier for you to move forward. It's a lot easier for you to get partners, to get clients, to get investors. And if your story is not compelling, that's the first challenge that you have to overcome. So the second lesson has to do with the power of influencers and how a company can get so much gravitas, if you will, by partnering with successful people. In this case, some of the early investors of Theranos that Elizabeth Holmes was able to partner were Betsy DeVos, the Walmart heirs, Rupert Murdoch, Carlos Slim. And when you think about it, I know that it's difficult for a lot of startups and a lot of companies to partner with such powerful people. But if you think about it right now for your business, who are the influencers? Who are the people or the organizations who have created already the trust, the traction, or the emotional connection with your right audience. And this is an area where a lot of companies really struggle, a lot of startups, a lot of people who own businesses, because they're not creative enough in the ability to partner up with these people. So I'll give you an example. One of my clients was able to partner with a brand that has millions of readers. And by her doing this, she not only has access to an incredible potential group of people, but she's elevating the status of her brand to the brand that has been working for a lot longer than her, has spent a lot more money than her to be able to create the results that they have. So my question to you is, what brands, what organizations, what are the type of relationships that you can create to be able to elevate your brand? And this is an area of resourcefulness, right? In the measure that you can understand a brand or an organization's pains and needs, it's the measure in which you can align what you're doing with their outcomes. So this is a major area of opportunity in terms of influencers who are the right organizations that can help you elevate your brand or your business to the next level. Now, the next 3 lessons have to do with warnings. And it would be disingenuous of me to say like this whole story was a story of warnings, because they actually, the reason why they were able to rise and fall was because they had some incredible things that they did up front, which 2 of them I already told you. So what's lesson number 3? Lesson number 3 has to do with partnering with an organization or with someone before you're ready to do that. I am all for testing things. I am all for prototyping. However, like Les Brown said wisely at one point, it is far better to be prepared and not have an opportunity than to have an opportunity and not be prepared. So what happened in 2013 is that they partnered with Walgreens, and they were running out of money. And instead of saying, we're gonna do whatever it takes to accelerate our process and get the right technology to be able to partner with them, we're gonna do it the other way around. We're gonna partner with Walgreens. This is gonna generate incredible buzz in the industry, and we're gonna be able to fundraise a lot more money because we're running out of cash, right? So when you partner with a giant like Walgreens and you're not ready, the shit is going to hit the fan. And this is exactly what happened. They started running all these things when they weren't ready, and because their machines weren't ready, they had to buy additional machines that were not their own technology to start running these tests. And they created this huge lab inside their company where they were doing all the tests manually, and they didn't have the right processes in place to be able to operate fully. So think about it in this way. If you have the ability to partner with someone, especially someone who's bigger than you, and you're not ready, it's gonna bite you in the rear massively. And sometimes that exposure to that many more people when you're not ready is gonna burn your brand fast as you can say, fire. So think about right now, who are the right organizations who can help you, but be ready for that. If you don't have the technology, if you don't have the right support, if you don't have the right mechanism in place, or logistical or otherwise in service, then that partnership is gonna help bring your ship faster. Lesson number 4 has to do with, there's a fine line between hustling and disregarding your integrity, between hustling and lying. Now, we all know that in business, sometimes you have to fake it till you make it. But when you take this to an extreme and you start getting people's lives in danger, then it can become a huge liability for your business. So there's a behavioral scientist called Dan Ariely, and he explains this in the documentary. And I've researched a little bit more of his experiment talking about the corruption of people. And this is somewhat of what happened inside that company. When you have a grand vision, something that seems really noble, and you want to get there, it's so easy for you to disregard your values, your integrity, and so many of the rules just to make that stuff happen. So he has an experiment where he gives people a die. You roll the die, and you can make cash for every single throw you have. You're gonna have 20 different throws, right? So the premise of the experiment is that you have to choose if you want the top or the bottom of the die once it lands. You have to think of that beforehand, but you don't have to say it. So you roll the die, and then let's say that you get number 1 at the top and number 6 at the bottom. Then they ask you, hey, which one have you chosen, top or bottom? Guess what happened? So many people started lying and saying the number that had the biggest value, regardless of what they had thought before. How do they know this? Because out of 20 throws, people statistically were significantly luckier than the rest of the population based on chance. So they started noticing that so many people started getting the right answer, even if they hadn't thought of that before. But they connected people to a lie detector, and they told people this is going to be able to detect if you're lying or not. So they asked people if they had just on top of the bottom, and they could tell if they were lying. Now, when they created this experiment and they said, when you win the money, it's going to be for a charity. So in your mind, this is something that's going to be super helpful to another human being or to another organization. And when they would throw the die, they noticed that people were lying more to get to that result. However, the lie detector stopped detecting lie. It started flatlining. It didn't detect the lie. Why? Because there was no tension between what you thought and what was happening. What do I mean by this? It means that the lie detector doesn't detect lies, it detects tension. So let's say, for example, that you throw in the die and then you say, I am saying something that I know is not true, then that's great tension and the lie detector is gonna pick up on that. However, when people started seeing that there was a positive outcome, like this is gonna help a foundation for children, a foundation for homeless or whatever, it's such a good cause that what I'm doing right now, the lying, doesn't really matter. You internalize that lie and not feel that it's lying anymore. So imagine this applied to a business where there's a huge, incredible goal to save humanity, to be able to detect all these super disruptive diseases ahead of time. Because that was a goal and was so powerful, they started disregarding their integrity. They started doing things that were immoral, illegal, and just flat out wrong. And this happens a lot in business. I have been able to witness this happening in a company that I had the chance to participate in, where the leadership of the company had such an incredible goal, such an amazing outcome, but the way they were going about it was just like flat out, just breaking rules that were not meant to be broken. So the last lesson has to do with how fast someone can fall the bigger the lie. So the last lesson has to do with the bigger the lie that you created, the faster the downfall can be. In this case, if you think about Theranos and their timeline, in 2010 they had raised $45 million. They created a bunch of partnerships. There were so many powerful people talking about how incredible this secretive company was. In 2013, at the highest peak, they were worth $10 billion. And by January of 2016, they got a letter from the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid telling Theranos that they were breaking with the regulations, that they were not doing things right. A series of things happened. By the summer of 2016, Forbes magazine ranked Elizabeth Holmes' net worth from $4.5 billion to zero, and the company's net worth from $9 billion at that time to $800 million. Now, the company is worth nothing right now, and besides that, the founder, Elizabeth Holmes, can face more than 200 years in prison unless she creates some miraculous legal defense that is able to give her a plea or something. But this just tells you how fast things can unravel the bigger the lie. So my analogy for this would be, the bigger the lie, imagine that when you're creating a lie, you're creating this anchor. It's creating a huge anchor, a 5-story building anchor. The bigger the lie, the faster the ship is gonna sink once you throw it down the ocean. So let me just review quickly what are the 5 lessons from Theranos' $10 billion fiasco. And the first 2 are powerful lessons. One has to do with storytelling, in the way that they're creating the story for the founder, the story that was the purpose behind the company, and the story of the company itself and their incredible noble goal of helping people to get blood work, to prevent diseases at a fraction of the cost in a minimally invasive manner. The second powerful lesson has to do with the power of influencers. Theranos was able to get so many incredible investors that they created so much gravitas, so much weight in the industry that people looked at them in a really high regard. The third, fourth, and fifth lessons are warnings, and the third lesson has to do with partnering with someone or an organization before you can actually commit to that. And in this case, partnering with Walgreens just accelerated their downfall because they were not ready for that, and they had to break their own rules and their integrity and create a lot more problems because they had to fulfill that obligation. In this case, they were running out of money, so they thought this partnership was going to give them money from the investors by creating this massive story. Lesson number 4 has to do with how easy it is for human beings to go from hustling to becoming dishonest, or from disregarding their integrity. And we talked about the die example, where people not only lie about which side they choose to make more money, but when it's for a good cause, they lie even more, and the lie detector stops detecting the tension because we think it's a good cause, so we must be in the right. We can do this in so many areas of our lives that is quite dangerous. Lesson number 5 has to do with the bigger the lie that you create in a company, it's like creating this huge anchor, the faster the downfall. I hope this is helpful. If it is, I'd love for you to do 3 things. Number 1, please like my video and subscribe to my channel. And if you'd like, you can also click on the notifications icon so you can get these as soon as they come out. Secondly, I'd love for you to share this video if you think that this is something that could benefit someone. And lastly, underneath the description of this video, there's gonna be a link. And if you're a woman entrepreneur and you want to scale your business, if you want to have more hand-holding, if you'd love for me to help you implement strategies for your business and help you scale the way that I've helped hundreds of women entrepreneurs, please click on that link, and it's gonna be a way for you to answer some questions, and we can explore if we might be a good fit to work together. And underneath the first link, there's also gonna be a second link that has some amazing case studies of women entrepreneurs that have been able to help grow their business, so you can hear firsthand how we were able to work together and where they are in their life right now. So thank you for watching. I send you a huge hug and all my love from Austin.